change that which can be changed, and wisdom to know one from the other. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, will the clerk please read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois will convene on February 20th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Brookins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Thank you. All right, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? All right, motion from Ed, second from Beth. Yes, go ahead.
Can I make a motion to amend the agenda to move 16A1 ARPA to 10C to put it in presentations after the firearm safe storage?
Okay, we have a motion to amend. Is there a second? Esri with a second. All in favor of the all in favor of the amendment to the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor of the amended agenda, please signify by saying aye. Yes.
I'd also like to make an amendment to the agenda.
Okay.
To pull off the consent agenda, item A1, the very first item, the facilities adoption of resolution 2025-31, which I assume would then probably go under 13 standing committees, so become like an A1, I would assume, on the agenda.
All right, we can do that as just, you just do 13A1 and start out with it. Yeah, okay. Okay, that is off consent. All right, all in favor of passing the amended agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. Date, time of the next regular meetings are posted on our agenda. Employee recognition. Dr. Storr, would you like to read this?
It'd be my pleasure. Resolution number 2025-56, resolution honoring county employees for years of service. Whereas it is the vision of the Champaign County Board to be a recognized leader in local government where every official and employee has personal devotion to excellence in the public service and embraces the highest standards of ethics and integrity, which enables Champaign County to provide the best customer services to its citizens. Whereas one element of pursuing this vision is communicating to employees that their service to Champaign County is valued and appreciated. And whereas Champaign County employees admirably serve the people of Champaign County with a full commitment to the responsibilities of county offices, work in partnership with fellow employees and county officials, and have dedication to the best interests of all the people of Champaign County. And whereas the County Board wishes to recognize the dedication and service of employees who have reached 5-year milestones in February 2025, now therefore be it resolved that Champaign County Board hereby recognizes each of the aforementioned Champaign County employees as an asset to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their years of service. Presented, adopted, and approved and recorded this 20th day of February, Anno Domini 2025. If you would, and you're present, please rise when I call your name. Mr. Aaron Borden, Sheriff's Department, 5 years. Ms. Amy Couture, Supervisor of Assessments, 5 years of service. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
All right, is there a
Sure.
second for this motion? All right, Esri, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is public participation. The first slip I has is from Benjamin Beaupre.
Hello, everybody. My name is Benjamin Beaupre. You may know me from other organizations, but tonight I'm just speaking on my own behalf. I sent out an email earlier covering basically what I'm saying tonight. Wanted to bring up the memory of David Laker. He used to come out here on the regular to remind folks about their responsibility with the nursing home crisis here, back when we still had a county nursing home even. He'd always end his remarks with, what about Sue, his wife, who was at the time being treated there and living there. And I think it helps to remember, the real lives being affected by the decisions you all make. I know I haven't been able to make it to a in-person county board meeting in a while, and I'd like to welcome all the new members and the incumbents who are still with us. It's really important, the decisions you're going to be making. I appreciated the Advocates for Aging Care presentation at the last COW, kind of a catch up on all the collaboration that's going to be needed to deal with the crisis we're facing. WCIA just had an article. I put a link in the email on that as well. So I want to wish you all the best of luck making some really hard decisions, harder and harder all the time it's looking like as far as the budget goes coming up. Another piece of old business that I'd like to remind the board of whenever we have a changeover is the Racial Justice Task Force recommendations. There's always a lot going on here in Champaign-Urbana. The county generally is dealing with a lot of the disparities, the housing segregation issues that still stick with us to this day. People have been working on it for years, decades, generations even. It's a lot of work, and the county has a big role in helping coordinate and make some coherent sense out of everything that's going on. It was part of the key recommendations of the task force that you all put together years back was to have a coordinating committee and an oversight committee, one to help bring everybody together at the same table so, we're not always reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of grant work that's always having to be dealt with, disappearing, coming back again, depending on when the funding's available. We need some organization to this chaos because even a lot of the people who are doing the work don't know everything else that's going on in the county, and trying to resolve some of these issues go across your district boundaries. They go across school districts into city districts, into county board districts. It all overlaps, and you have to have some sort of organization to this chaos. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on having the same problems not actually dealt with over time. So really want to push for actually implementing those key recommendations from the report from the get-go. And good luck to all of you. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy to sit in public and have to make the decisions you're about to have to do with the budget circumstances you're dealing with. So try your best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beaupre. Next is Cameron Belk, Sr.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Cameron Belk Sr., and there's a story in the Bible where Jesus healed 10 lepers, and only one came back and said thank you. Well, tonight, I'm that one person that wants to come back and say thank you to the board. I come before you tonight as a grateful man. I'm grateful for this county, for this board, for the programs that you support, and for the people who fight every day to make sure that individuals just like me don't fall through the cracks. I'm here tonight to put a face to the dollars you have earmarked for the rental assistance program. For me, this program was just not another government initiative. It was my lifeline. A little over a year, I was faced with the unthinkable, homelessness. I had spent my life being the one others turn to in times of need, whether it was family, friends, or even people in the community. I was always there to help financially whenever I could, but life had a way of humbling us. And after suffering multiple strokes, I found myself in a position I never expected, unable to work, struggling with my health, and in desperate need of help myself. When that moment came, the people I had helped before, they wanted to help me and return the favor, but they simply couldn't. Everyone was struggling, and I was left without options. That is, until I was introduced to the rental assistance program through First Followers in partnership with RPC. This program didn't just provide me with housing, it restored my dignity. It gave me the stability that I needed to focus on my health, to recover, and to begin rebuilding my life. Without it, I don't know where I would be today. I might not even be sitting here before you at all. And that is why I'm here tonight, not just to say thank you, but to ask for something critically important. Right now, the program is limited to 1 year of assistance. For many, that is simply not enough time. Recovering from a major health crisis, regaining financial stability, rebuilding a life, it takes time. 1 year is a step in the right direction, but for individuals in situations like mine, 2 years could mean the difference between truly getting back on our feet or falling back into crisis. I urge you to consider lifting the 1 year rule and allowing 2 years of support for those in critical need. The investment you make in people like me doesn't just change lives, it saves them. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for your leadership and commitment to this community. Thank you to First Followers and RPC for guiding me to this program when I needed it most. And thank you for listening to my story. I hope that by sharing it, I can help to ensure, even if it doesn't get extended for me, it can help some others who are in crisis in this community. I was given, and get the opportunity I was given, the opportunity to live with dignity and hope. Thank you, board. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Belk. All right, that concludes public participation. Next up is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve consent? Okay. Second, Eric. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Oh, excuse me, roll call. Yeah. Roll call, please, clerk.
Esri? Yes. Farney?
Yes.
Fava?
Yes.
Furtado? Yes. Greer?
Yes.
Hanover Friedman?
Yes.
Lakshan?
Yes.
Pugh?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Sexton? Storr?
Yes.
Sullard?
Yes.
Thorsland?
Yes.
Vanish Theornot?
Yes.
Wiggs?
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Cagle?
Yes.
Crane?
Yes.
Locke?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, next up, we have some presentations. First up is the sleep program update. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. a quick recap of our accomplishments of the Safety, Lighting, and Energy Efficiency Program for 2024. My name is Peter Pashock, the Energy Efficiency Program Manager for this program. We had an exciting year at RPC in energy efficiency, and we were able to impact 3 particular neighborhoods with new outside street lighting, ring doorbells, video cameras, as well as post-top yard lights. And we really brightened up a few notable neighborhoods. If you're not familiar, in the northwest corner of Champaign is Dobbins Downs, just north of Anthony Drive right there. We also have Scottswood, hop skip away, over in Urbana. You can see the fields that outline on the border of the map, as well as Pleasant Acres in Rantoul. The biggest challenge in getting this program in terms of formulating, the actual pricing, how we implement it, is finding some unification between these 3 different jurisdictions. And while they may be neighbors, there's actually a little bit of difference in what they ask their electricians to do, what they ask their contractors to do. So we really made sure we took our time to unify this program in a way where it can be expanded into the future, it can be expanded into these neighborhoods. And we were able to come up with a few significant projects. After we overcame these initial barriers and actually rolled it out, we were able to start late fall and get roughly a little over 10% of our initial goal in there. Most of it took place in Scottswood, a handful in Dobbins Downs, and 1 in Pleasant Acres. Unfortunately, our contractors, and I'll show them the next slide here, they did suffer some health issues. Unfortunately, there was a heart attack, and there was some shoulder surgery involved in these contractors that led to a significant difference in who was able to participate. However, we do have good confidence that this program can both be expanded to new contractors, as well as given this opportunity to these local businesses to continue to participate. We conducted a number of summer outreach programs to enroll these programs, and our whole intention was minimal barriers to entry. Even now, we're still receiving new applications with the hopes of serving these people, these clients, in the springtime. We have a fully digital process. There's no paper involved. It's about as slick as it can be for kind of grassroots being built up from nothing, and we've got a good pipeline going into the spring for when it gets warm here. We anticipate rebooting the program as soon as the ground thaws. However, rest assured, if we don't need to do any digging, we're not, and we're putting projects out as we speak, so people are continuing to get served in these neighborhoods. We estimate that we've received about 100 applicants with minimal fall off. We have received a few renters, we have received a few out-of-service applicants, but we do anticipate kicking off just as soon as our contractors feel confident in digging with 30 projects in the spring. If you haven't been to these communities, if you haven't driven around, if you haven't ran through them on a jog, you might not know that there's no sidewalks, there's no street lights, there's no post-top lights, they're very dark. And when you have to kind of traverse these neighborhoods, you have no choice but to do it in the streets. And there's no good way to look doing that when it's dimly lit. One of the things that I've heard about this program is I feel safe. I can see what's going on. People have told me that, they feel better, navigating these neighborhoods. They feel better living in these neighborhoods. We're going to have some really good opportunities to capitalize on and really get the rest of this budget spent once we start doing this work, once people in these communities see how tangible it is, like they've already seen in Scottswood. I think before, we get too deep into the warm weather, we'll have a really good sense of how this money is going to be spent next year. So thank you. Thank you for putting us in a position to serve these communities and give them something that they really need and deserve. Thank you for letting us fight poverty through energy efficiency.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
More of a comment, but in the next month, I believe myself, David Williams, and Samantha Carter will be doing a thing along some of the pastors on the north side of town up there. Kind of more of a gathering to get some education out there. We would like you to show up because actually one of the pastors wants to know more about the sleep program, so we're reaching out to you. Want you to come, bring slides, bring everything you can, because people are interested. And, sorry, that's it. Thanks.
I would be excited to commit to participating in that. I really passionately commit to community action agencies and community action here in Champaign County. We've already been approached with other opportunities to bridge this program with other initiatives in the Park District and with the Wellness Center. I think it would be exciting to keep up the momentum.
Further questions? Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, thank you so much for the great work you're doing. A quick question. What is a project? Is a project like one light, one lamp, one LED? Is that considered a project? Or one household is a project? What defines a project?
Each house has up to $2,000 worth of funding to implement some combination of lighting improvement on the house. Either, repairing and replacing knocked out and damaged lights like we see here in this example. It could be as simple as upgrading, sufficient lights. We dig and install the circuits for the post top yard lights as well as the switches. And we do the Ring doorbell. We find that most projects end up somewhere within the ballpark of $1,200 to $1,900. So we make sure that we go out and we maximize these houses. If the opportunity isn't there, if the house is already sufficiently bright, if the homeowner doesn't want modifications to the exterior of their house, that budget rolls over into a future project. It's not like use it or lose it. So we aim to maximize, be good stewards of this fund and maximize the improvements on this house. Up to $2,000 of lighting improvements is the project.
One more question.
Oh, please.
You showed 100 applicants. How many actual households potentially could be benefited by the program?
We want to do 200.
200?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. We've got a lot of work to do.
And the work then is really helping individuals understand the need?
When I talk to someone at the end of a project, what they tell me, the benefit is safety, being able to see out into their yard, being able to see all their cars, the remote access to the Ring doorbell. There's an efficiency element in it, but when it comes to lighting upgrades, we're doing it to reduce just worry about property crime. And there's benefits outside of the house in making these neighborhoods bright in a way that they really haven't been.
Thank you.
Of course.
Dr. Storr.
Thank you. Peter, thank you for including letting folks know about other programs. In spite of best efforts, not everybody gets to hear about programs like the new opportunities to use the Health and Wellness Center or other RPC sorts of things, perhaps not even light heap or the winterization sorts of stuff. So I commend you for being a holistic ambassador. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Fulfillment through service.
Further questions? Yep. Go ahead, Jake.
Thanks for being here, Peter. Appreciate your work. I just had one question, which was, of the projects you completed, could you give us a breakdown of like how many were the doorbells versus the lighting, what that looked like?
I don't have that on hand, but that is a very interesting question. I would say, there's not too much here. We've got 28 total projects. I would say in general, unless they already had a Ring doorbell or were tepid towards technology in general, they took it at a very high rate. Unless they had some kind of challenge, and you can see in this picture we've got some concrete to negotiate under. Unless they didn't want it, or they prefer a new light being installed on the house. I would say most projects were a doorbell, LED lighting upgrades, repair of any type of flickering fixture, smashed fixture, and then one additional light is typical. Sometimes maybe two, depending on how it shakes out, but we are making it a little brighter each house.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you. Hello, thank you for being here. Just for clarification, so they had $2,000 that they could use. So that, I mean, a Ring doorbell's typically like, $150. Okay, so they could apply for the Ring doorbell and have a light installed in their front yard or have it fixed or whatever. Okay, great.
The process is that a member of our team would go out and they would assess the house. They would use, some of the digital documentation that we developed to, budget it out. They would go around the house, try to hit as close to $2,000 as possible, talk about it with the homeowner. The homeowner would say, if there's any choices to make, we would work with them and zero in on a project. They would sign the project so they'd know exactly what's going to happen to their house. And then we would dispatch one of those three contractors that we had to conduct the work. Please.
About how long did each project take?
So there was a little bit of a gap between the project development and the project implementation that we don't expect to experience in the spring. However, it should all be a very quick turnover. The actual application only takes about 20 minutes. The assessment only takes about an hour. The install takes maybe half a day depending on the work that's being done and just any complications they might find. But in terms of what the homeowner needs to be home for, it's very minimal. And the actual impact and commitment from the homeowners may be 2 to 3 days, but maybe not a whole day. Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
For anyone that may be watching, is there any requirement that an individual or a homeowner may need to know or prepare themselves to, get this $2,000 upgrade done to up to $2,000 done to their home?
Homeowners only in the designated neighborhoods are the only requirement. They don't have to demonstrate anything outside of being the occupant and the owner of that home. We're able to look up property tax documents, verify their ownership for them. The goal is minimal barrier. And I think that we were about as successful as we could be in 2024 with that. To be prepared in terms of things that kind of have caught us, we're not really seeing any older fuses or older electrical boxes in these neighborhoods. They were built pretty recently. We're not running into a whole lot of concerns. A lot of times it's just scheduling, making sure that we're able to meet them at the house, making sure that we're able to make appointments has been kind of the biggest challenge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Matt.
You mentioned one of the criteria of being a homeowner and owner-occupant. I would imagine a lot of the individuals that might really want to benefit from this are perhaps renting. Does do any of these projects capture rented homes by working with the property owner themselves?
Unfortunately, the way that I have understood the grant money is only to be spent on owner-occupied houses at this time. We're not really seeing a whole lot of rented units. It's ending up being the minority of the households that have applied for it. I would like to, imagine that there are a need for it, but I think it was determined that, these savings should go to the occupants rather than maybe a landlord. I don't know. I can't really speak to that too much, but the good thing to know is we're not seeing a whole lot.
Go ahead. Yeah, again, Brett.
Thanks. So you're looking at about 70 more possible projects for the next year, is that correct, to get their 200?
Affirmative, yeah.
Would you be willing to come to some of the churches on the north side?
Yeah. Which are you talking for?
Oh, we'll line you up. Don't worry about
for
that.
Dobbins
We'll get
Downs?
you your 70,
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Yeah, this is the neighborhood we're talking about, right?
Oh, no. We're talking basically north of University. We'll get you some projects.
Yeah, it's only these three neighborhoods:
Oh, I'm
Dobbins
sorry. I
Downs,
apologize.
Scottswood. There's another. I think there was another program going for.
I apologize then.
Oh well, we can.
No, we'll still help you out.
We should
though,
still
with Dobbins
talk.
Downs and stuff, yeah.
If it's dark, we should brighten it up.
Jenny.
I think, Brett, I think the city of Champaign, I'm not supposed to address you, but I think the city of Champaign was also running a program, and that
Okay.
would be, might be who you would want to
Sorry, I
connect
got a
with.
little bit confused about that, but yeah, we could still actually help you on the north side, yeah. Get you your 70.
Further questions? Thank you very much for presenting. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up is the Firearm Safe Storage Strategies Grant Update, and we've got Shauna Den Otter to give us an update.
Okay. I was thinking I was going to stand up, so sitting down just feels, I'm thrown off a bit. I'm Shauna Donater, and I am the training and outreach coordinator for the Champaign County Gun Safety Program. And just a quick overview of what it is. We are funded by a grant from IDPH, and the goals are to bring resources to the secure storage conversation in Champaign County. So training to have those conversations, to start those conversations. For this work to live on past the end date of the grant, it's important to get the people in other organizations and communities trained to be able to hold those conversations, because the grant is half over and it can't really end with me. We have partnered with Be Smart. It's a nationwide campaign on secure storage. And the training we offer is a train the trainer. So the state lead presenting can focus on what it looks like to be offering this to various populations, whether it's veterans or early childhood folks or school social workers. And there's a little bit of an elephant in the room when we talk about gun safety. But Be Smart just pushes that over to the side, because there's no question about the legislation about guns or whether people should have them or not. It really is just coming at it from a They're in people's homes, and people have the right to have them. So we just want to know how you're, if you need any resources to secure them safely. So the tangible resources that we're coming with the awareness and training are print materials that you have. We've got some posters that I'll be giving to local schools for their main offices. Also in Spanish. And we have gun lock pickup sites around the county. So far we've distributed over 1,000 cable gun locks at various pickup sites. And everyone's favorite, the biometric gun safes are available for organizations and individuals to request. So far, 253 individuals in Champaign County have requested a biometric gun safe through the website. I have spoken to 169 of those personally. And 100 of them have already been either assigned and not yet delivered or delivered to various organizations. Okay. I'll show you the gun safe in a minute. The other piece of the work is education and awareness on the firearms restraining order. So it's a law that came into effect several years ago, and it's not really been meeting its full potential as a suicide and violence interruption tool. We did make a flyer with help from the Susan McGrath's office, so it should all be correct. But it's also being used as a template from other organizations in the state to be able to use for their own projects. Okay, now I'm going to show a video. Oh, I don't know how to make it make sound. Any idea? Sound? Oh.
Does the closed caption button work on there? We could read the captions.
Well. I knew the technology was going to be my downfall. So ready.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Can I ask while we wait? I see that says Champaign County resident. Is that a specific to our local area video that was produced? The video was produced, it was specific to Champaign County?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very
yeah,
cool.
We made
Okay.
this video, yeah. Oh. No. It was a real moment. Okay. Well, I can tell you what the video is about. How do I make it smaller, though? Okay, so the background of the video. A year ago, a bar manager outside of Poor Bros in downtown Champaign was shot and eventually died of his wounds by a firearm that had been stolen from a vehicle in Savoy. His partner, Aaron, made this video with us, and she speaks to what it has been like without him, and and it was stolen out of a car. 70% of, I'm trying not to be too boring with statistics, but 70% of stolen firearms are coming from vehicles. And this is why secure storage sort of across the board helps everyone. So the PSA shows what can happen when a firearm is stolen. My daughter goes to school with the 7-year-old who was shot a few weeks ago. And that one also appears to have been reported stolen. And the firearm used, and both of those were taken. Okay. So if you're having your firearm in your car, hiding it in a glove box and locking the doors isn't exactly the perfect answer to secure storage. But we are working on awareness of the problem, secure storage, finding a possible solution, and providing the resources to make it happen. Now is the gun safe part. So it's small enough that if you did want to carry it around in your car, you could. It comes with a cable that you could attach to something that you can't steal out of your car, like the passenger seat. And see, when it doesn't work, it's not good. But and so they're very popular. My biggest concern with my grant is that we're going to run out of gun safes. So who are we focusing on? IDPH told us that Champaign County has a higher than state average rates for suicide for two groups, white men over 50 and girls between 10 and 19. Suicide by firearm is particularly lethal, and suicide accounts for more than half of the gun deaths. So some of our focused outreach are at these groups. For the 10 to 19, kids having access to firearms isn't a kid problem, it's an adult one. And that's where the partnerships with school districts and family-serving organizations come in. Schools are trusted messengers, and they have access to all of the caregivers for all of these small humans. And sending Be Smart information home is such an easy way and an effective way to reach those caregivers. I've met with several school districts in the county so far to work on this. Shout out to St. Joe's 169 and Mahomet Seymour. For Don Moyer's Boys and Girls Club, they serve over 300 families. They've done the Be Smart training. They have resources on hand for them. And there's roughly 25,000 students enrolled in public schools in Champaign County. Even the smallest district getting involved with this can make a big impact. And then for the men over 50, secure storage isn't in itself going to stop suicide when someone is using their own firearm, but suicide intervention requires time. So any step where someone might pause is adding to that time. The gun locks all have suicide information branding on them. This is where most people, more people understanding the firearm restraining orders and how they work and how they can be used are so important. FROs can help someone in crisis. 1 in 22 FROs issued prevents a suicide. And veterans are another focus group for all of our support and intervention. We're supporting organizations that work with veterans. Veterans Assistance Commission have done the Be Smart training, have gun locks and gun safes. We've attended the Healing Invisible Wounds event as a resource table and are working with them to support future events. And success so far. The website has a list. Oh, it doesn't require sound, so I can show you. There are all the gun lock pickup locations in Champaign County. So CUPHD, Farm Bureau, Community Service Center of Northern Champaign County, which they have the longest name in the world, but I've been up to Rantoul and plan to be going regularly. School districts are sending out Be Smart flyers. We've had events with local churches on the north side, hosted a secure storage event with a presentation from local leaders on the importance of secure storage and the impact that it's having in the community, and a Be Smart presentation by the Be Smart trained pastor, handed out 100 gun locks and 30 safes. The county coroner's office deputies have gun locks that they might need while they're on call. And we attended the Disability Expo with an information table. And at first glance, the Disability Expo doesn't seem like maybe like the place that makes the most sense, but firearm owners are in all groups. And so I was very popular. And I met a young family. Both parents were military veterans, and they had these 2 adorable kids who were neurodivergent. And those kids tried everything they had to get into this box. They were putting the candy, because it happens around Halloween, so there's a lot of candy, so they were putting their candy in, trying to get it out, and I can tell you for sure that children cannot get into this box. I also learned that if you try too many times with the wrong fingerprint, it starts beeping like it's going to explode, and you need to open it and take the batteries out. But getting them the resources they need, it just makes the program seem so valuable, because they were starting to wonder, they have small children who are getting older, your secure storage needs change as the people in your house become different ages. And how do we know that we're successful? Great question. One of the conversations I had with someone at a pickup event touched on this. He said, you'll never know how many lives were saved with this project. And he's right. We can't count the parents who get a Be Smart backpack flyer. And that's the piece of information that finally gets them to do the safe buying, or the signing up for a safe, or the moving it from hiding it to actually storing it. We are making an impact in both measurable ways and numbers of trainings. How many locks? I can tell you how many trainings we have, how many locks we've handed out, how many safes we've handed out, but also in immeasurable ways. Like the one grandma who babysits her grandkids and was worried that the simple cash box she was using wasn't going to keep her kids safe anymore. And that's it. But when you do get the link for the PSA, please watch it. It's very good.
Thank you so much. Do we have questions?
I was very nervous. Oh my God.
You're doing fine. Thank you. Let's see, Mr. Crane.
Thank you for being here.
Hi.
You did great.
Thanks.
Do you know how many locks and safes you have remaining to hand out? Or is it a finite number, or can you get more?
Okay, so locks are unlimited, basically. 150,000 of them have already been handed out across the state of Illinois, and IDPH is providing them in partnership with a veterans organization, so we can just get as many of those as we need. The safes, so we budgeted for 500, but I've been getting a good deal, so I will have more than 500, but eventually I'm going to run out. That's not here yet, but it is the thing I think about in the middle of the night.
Further questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of this. I'm a NRA-trained range safety officer, firearms instructor, Boy Scout instructor. I think the information you have would be fantastic for us to include at Boy Scout camp over the summer when we have 300 or 400 youth coming through. And so if we could hook up, exchange information, I can help make that happen, because a vast majority of the kids that are going to the summer camp at Camp Drake are from Champaign, Urbana. And so it would be great to get this information out to them so that they know about these resources. And their parents are there every Wednesday night too. And the range is the number one place. It's, as we say in the Boy Scouts, if you can blow it up or shoot it, you're going to have kids in line to do it. So I'd love to help you with that.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Brett.
Thank you. Sorry. And as an Eagle Scout, I will concur with that too. I'm sorry, I forgot this though, but what's the interior dimensions of the safe again? Do you know
The
that?
interior dimensions?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know that I'll have it on. Also, this is one of the last ones of these, and the next round are bigger because we bought all of them. We bought them all. They're like, getting the safes. I didn't realize that I was competing with people for Christmas gifts. And the...
No, it's fine. I was curious, that's all. It's
Yeah,
fine.
no,
Thank you.
I can show it to you. Here. The new ones are bigger.
Okay.
Say it might fit two smallish ones.
Yeah, just so if people do ask or anything like that. So I'm going to try to put out the Legion too. So I'm just trying to get a better idea. Yeah, so yes. Thank you.
Stephanie.
I just want to thank you for all your incredible work on this. I know that our county has become like a model for other parts of the state because of how well it's going. I also wanted to thank Kate, our grant coordinator, and our very own Ellie, who spent quite a bit of her own time on working on the grant application so that we could get this grant. And then I also wanted to say, I've actually seen the PSA multiple times out, like I'll be on my phone and it'll come up like as an ad, and it's really powerful and it's really well done. And y'all have just really, I don't know what we anticipated, but you've knocked it out of the park. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We do want to make another one because there are definitely other communities that can have loss that we can show. But
Go ahead, Daniel.
More of a comment than a question, but thank you for your presentation and thank you for your work with this program. And also thank you to Erin Hardaway for helping make that video. As someone who was at her and Brandon's wedding, you just never think that stuff's going to happen to you, and really appreciate what she did for that PSA. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ellie.
Yeah, I also want to thank Shauna for all the amazing work that she's been doing on this program, which was, if those of you who were here a year ago remember, it really was. I mean, we're at about, as I think was mentioned, the 1-year anniversary of Brandon Hardaway's death, and it was us sitting around this room and that incident was brought up, and Stephanie literally pulled out her phone and started scrolling, and I think Eric was talking about it, and Stephanie said, I think there's a grant we can apply for. So it's just a really, it's a great example of how we can get something done, and I'm just glad to have been a part of it and glad to see all the impact that we're having. So thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Ellie. We talked about it in that meeting that night, and I went home and I had an email already from someone who was in the meeting that night who said, you folks got me thinking, and I bought a gun safe tonight on Amazon because you won't let me bring my gun in the meeting room, so I left it in my car. And after what had happened with Mr. Hardaway, there was a kind of a shocking email to me, but not that shocking because I think that's probably more common than we know. And so Ellie ran with it, Stephanie ran with it. You have exceeded all expectations, and it's really good to see.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Thanks for doing this work. Obviously, it's continuing to be a need, and we keep getting reminded of it. Seems like it gets worse and worse every time. About the FROs here, a lot of the work that I've done in my legal career, including in Champaign County here, has been getting folks through involuntary mental health treatments. One of those was the individual responsible for the shooting we're talking about here. It was one that happened when he had come through that process when I was in the state's attorney's office, so I remembered the name. What sort of outreach training with the FROs are we doing in the community?
So the person in charge of training for the state of Illinois got a new job, and so we're a little behind on that because finding out that she had a new job took a little bit. So there's a new person, and she is coming to Champaign County. We're working with the state's attorney's office, and CUPHD wants to get some people trained. There's some people who work with domestic violence that want to get people trained, and so I'm just coordinating a good date for her to come down and to do all of those various trainings, because really it's like people need to know how to use it in order for it to get used. But that's the next top of my to-do list now that tonight's over.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Ellie.
Just to add to that, I think so far we have information on the circuit clerk's website that's been added, right, Shauna, and these brochures. But yeah, the training piece will be crucial in making sure that attorneys, judges, but also the civil society folks know how to use a FRO, because at the time of writing the grant, only 3 had ever been filed in Champaign County.
Further questions? I'll just add that I am always stunned when I see the semi-regular pieces in the News Gazette that describe how people don't secure their firearms and they're then stolen. What you're doing is having an impact. Whether we're going to know it or not, or have it proved, it's not out there, but you're having an impact, and thank you.
Thank you. There's another round of funding being made available, but they still haven't told us like what that looks like or how, if it's going to be an extension of people that they want, that they like the work they're doing. So I'm trying to shine.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Everyone's good?
Seeing no further questions, we will move on. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, next up with the amended agenda is ARPA. Kathy, do you want to come forward?
Good evening. We've included the monthly update that has the various projects, and of course we have all different types of status where some have been completed with receiving their funding, some are in the middle, some still need more work, and some still need started, but we have all the contracts in place. And so we continue to update that chart with projects that get completed or at least have received all of their funding from us. We had the quarterly report due January 31st, and so the Department of Treasury had different requirements this time, so we had to report additional information, and it's kind of a more finalized point in the reporting process, even though we'll continue to report into 2027. Other than that, I'd be happy to try to answer specific questions.
Any questions? Chris?
Hi, Kathy. Guess what I'm going to raise? Can you tell us about the low hurdle grants, please?
So I did try to reach out for a response, and I have not heard back. I don't know, Steve, if you might have heard more, but
I did speak with Director for Economic Development. She indicated, I think the meeting was last week, she said that she thought it would be about 3 weeks, and they would be able to get going. They had some staff maternity leaves that slowed things down, but I think 3 weeks is what I had heard. Chris, that's congruent with what we talked about, isn't it? Okay. Further questions? Stephanie?
This is somewhat more of a comment. So just to get yourself prepared, at the March COW, we will be talking about the remaining money pretty extensively. The plan is that's particularly, everybody submitted that final list that we gave to the feds that landscapes out what we can do. At the facilities meeting, we'll be discussing, trying to put that into conversation with our facilities plan so that facilities as a committee can make a recommendation on, hey, this is, in terms of the facilities projects, this is where we think it should go because it makes the most sense given our current plan. And then we'll sort of, Jenny will share that with you. And then from that conversation, we'll go into we might not know exactly how much money we have left. And this is because of cost, the jail not costing as much, right? So we won't know to the penny, but we'll have a pretty good sense. And then the goal is then to make those decisions between the COW and the full board in March. So just be prepared to spend some time on that in March.
Thank you. Jeff?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Kathy. What is, do you have any update on the water infrastructure project for Garden Hills? What's going on there?
they expect to send us request for reimbursement sometime mid to later this year. So they've already been doing work on their own from the city's perspective, but our portion would be sometime this year that they would request reimbursement.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Dr. Storr.
I see that there's something for the Sangamon Valley Public Water District. Is that part of the money we set aside for the design of the service to the folks? And
Yeah, that was set aside for reimbursing for the engineering design work for that project. And we did extend the timeline on their contract, so we would just need more invoices to reimburse. Yeah.
Beth, go ahead.
Where are we at with broadband?
So Volo has the RFPs out for the work to be done. I think they've already received responses, and they would like to try to start with construction by the end of March is the current plan. I think there would be a broadband meeting sometime in the future or information coming out for an update too. Yeah.
Not seeing anyone else, so Kathy, thank you so much. All right, on to board communications. Go ahead, Jenny.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to report back that I attended the Developmental Disabilities Board meeting yesterday and came away with a few action items for those in our community who are concerned about making sure we have services for the developmentally and physically disabled community. Please, if you value Medicaid, reach out to your representatives, especially those in Mary Miller's district, to ask to oppose cuts to Medicaid, which is a vital program to so many Americans, and especially those who require services of the Developmental Disabilities Board, so that's very important to them right now. Right now, there's also a case in which a group of 17 states have sued the U.S. government to get rid of Section 504 and its rules that protect people with disabilities. Please reach out to Attorney General Kwame Raoul from Illinois, or to groups that support the disabled and ask them to file amicus briefs in support of Section 504 and to protect those with disabilities. And finally, Spread the Word Day for Inclusion is on March 5th. That's coming up very soon. Visit spreadtheword.global to learn how you can take the pledge for inclusion. That's an odd website. I'll say it again, spreadtheword.global. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Chairman. Two quick items. One, I had the pleasure of attending the 2025 DAR-SAR Good Citizenship Award, and I think we have an alumnus from that award here, just fairly close to me. So the DAR-SAR, DAR stands for Daughters of the American Revolution, SAR is Sons of the American Revolution. So to be in that esteemed club, then you need to have an actual relative, direct descendant that actually either supported or was part of the Revolutionary War. And at this was in the front page of the News Gazette. This was on Friday. There's 27 high schools were recognized. 2 persons per high school received the award. The award recognizes high school seniors who possess the qualities of dependability, service, leadership, and patriotism in their homes, schools, and communities. These students are selected by their teachers and peers because they demonstrate these qualities in an outstanding degree. Anyway, congratulations to all these students, and in particular, I'll do a shout out for those in my district, Muhammad Seymour High School, which is Tyler Clark, and Madeline Longston, and Fisher High School, which is Asher Littman and Paige Hott. So anyway, congratulations to all these kids that won this award. And
Great
then
news.
secondly, happy birthday, George Washington. So George Washington, he is just about 300 years old. And maybe for those that are listening online that may not have got this information in their high school, but he was the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the Revolutionary War, served 2 terms as our first president from 1789 and 1797. Some may wonder, well, what happened after the Revolutionary War until 1789? There was actually 6 years where the nation did not have a president. And in those 6 years, the country was run by the Articles of Confederation. That was ineffective, and hence that morphed into the Constitution and the election of our first president, George Washington. He served 2 terms. Under his leadership, the states ratified the Bill of Rights. 5 new states entered the Union: North Carolina, Rhode Island, Vermont, Kentucky, and Tennessee. He declined to serve a 3rd term, although everybody wanted him to, and that set the precedent for what we have today, other than I think FDR kind of blew that out of the water, but they restored it. I think it's a law, right? A constitutional requirement, a specification. It's only 2 terms. And anyway, Washington left an enduring legacy on American history. He's known as the father of our country. His face appears on the U.S. bill, the quarter dozen of U.S. schools, towns, and counties, and the state of Washington, which I lived in Washington for a while and actually got my first degree at the University of Washington. And obviously the nation's capital is named after him. Happy birthday, George Washington.
Thank you, Jeff. Matt, go ahead.
Well, we'll hope that two-term limit stays in effect. I wanted to note, some of you may have heard that our county treasurer will be leaving us here shortly. There is a little well wishes and thanks going on in this room tomorrow at noon. Is that right? Tomorrow at noon? If anyone wanted to stop by and say thank you for your service, and hope you end up on a beach somewhere for. Okay.
Stephanie.
Since this is my last chance to publicly thank Treasurer Johnson while she's in the room at this meeting, I want to say this. You had already given a career of service to your country. You didn't have to come do what you did for this county. I admire the work that you did. I know because I talked to you, that you didn't fix everything you wanted to fix, but I admire the work that you did. Everybody I ever talked to at the county always tells me, I'm leaving, but I'm walking out at late. CJ's still here. You put in the work, and more than anything, being an elected official in this county is not always easy. You handle things with a grace that astounds me. And I appreciate you, and I thank you, and I feel that I have been made a better person for working alongside of you. So thank you very much.
JJ.
Thank you. First, yes, I did receive the Sons of the American Revolution Award. They give you these nice tri-point hats that you have to wear, and we look like colonists. It's a lot of fun. But I would like to recognize the students from my district that received it. We had 3 high schools. From Heritage, Brendan Struck and Loran Tate. From Unity, Alex Mowerer and Avery Watson. And then from St. Joe Ogden, Jackson Ennis and Sydney Reitmeyer. I know the kids from St. Joe Ogden, and they are amazing kids. They are so involved with their community. Sydney's the student council president, and I don't know when she gets to rest. So saying that they are good citizens, just from the kids that I personally know, it's an understatement. These are up-and-coming kids that are going to do great things for our community, so I congratulate all of them. At the committee of the whole meeting, I mentioned that Holy Cross's 7th grade basketball team was going to state. They ended up taking 2nd place at state, so congratulations to them. And then finally, I would like to echo my esteemed colleagues' comments on Treasurer Johnson. And so from one former treasurer to another soon-to-be former treasurer, congratulations. You have done a great job, CJ. And the office is much improved because of the work that you did, and we owe you a debt of gratitude for it because, like Stephanie said, you didn't have to do that, and we are very fortunate that you did. So thank you for your service, CJ.
Go ahead, Dr. Storr.
Thank you. Along the same vein, I very much remember the trauma and turmoil that was in the treasurer's office until C.J. Cassandra Johnson came and calmed the waters. This county owes this fine young lady, a debt of thanks that is hard to describe or measure. Thank you.
Brett, you had your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Nothing against the women's team, but tomorrow the men's Illini hockey team will be playing in a tournament starting at 10 o'clock in Bloomington Normal. This is a club team. They pay to play. They get nothing from the university whatsoever. But they have a good shot, so hopefully they do well tomorrow, and show up if you can. I know it's late notice for a lot of people, but I think it'll be YouTube also, and just watch if you can, support them. And hopefully the women's team next year will be in a tournament also, because they just switched conferences. So thanks.
Anyone else? Jenny?
I have one more thing that I should have brought up. The IHSA State Wrestling Tournament kicked off today at State Farm Center. Be aware we'll have lots of visitors here in town. They're here for a great cause to celebrate folks who have made it to the state competition for wrestling, and you can go watch that at the State Farm Center all weekend.
Further communications? Seeing none, we will move on. Approval of the minutes, January 23rd, 2025, and January 28th, 2025, regular meeting and study session. Can I have a motion? Motion by Ed, second by Eric. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yes, I have a few corrections. There
Okay.
3 of them. Two of them are truly minor, but I caught them. It happened to this time. The first one, it's page 59 of the packet. So in the lower part of the page, or page 7 of the minutes themselves, the first full paragraph that starts with board member cohort. So if you go to the 4th line up from the bottom, various board members thanked county engineer Blue for, the way it reads now, is work. IS, it should be his work, so there should be an H added. That's very minor. The next one would be the next paragraph down. Board Chair Locke offered a motion to adopt resolution number 2025-28, appointing county board member to the opioid settlement task force. Well, that should be board members John Farney and Brett Pugh. And then the third one is another, like the very first one. So if you flip the page to board packet, page 60, or the minutes, page 8, the last paragraph, the paragraph right of board adjourned. Board member Essery offered a motion to approve the closed. It should be closed instead of closes. I already made these aware to Matt. And on that subject, this is not to say that Matt does a bad job or anybody does a bad job at taking minutes. Everyone, I would say, in this county who takes minutes at all of our meetings, committee meetings, board meetings, whatever. Matt, I know Michelle takes some, Megan, Mary, Liz, and if there's anyone else, just say that everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes like these. All in all, our staff does an excellent job of taking minutes as far as I'm concerned. Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron. We'll make those corrections. All right. Go ahead, Jenny.
One more, on page 61 and page 62, it references board member Emily Rodriguez. I'd like her to have her title. She chaired that meeting because she's vice chair and I couldn't be here. So I'd like it to, on page 61, in the first paragraph, replace board member with vice chair Emily Rodriguez. And then on page 62 at adjournment, vice chair Rodriguez adjourned the meeting. If we could do that, thank you.
We will make those corrections. All right, with those corrections, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, now on the amended agenda, I will probably foul this up, but we go on to resolution number 2025-31, establishing the Bennett Administrative Center Dedication Committee. This was pulled off consent. To start out, let me have a motion to approve this resolution. Motion from Jenny. Got a second from Eric. JJ, go ahead.
I have a question or two. And so if the facilities chair can answer them, that would be fantastic. The $6,000. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong page. That's why I'm like, that's not making sense. There we go. The $6,000, where is it coming from?
What I was told on this one by, sorry, Matt, did you have something on that? Oh, sorry, Michelle, you, okay.
We have money for moving expenses already budgeted, so the goal will be to pull it from there first. I think that's highly likely, but I also just wanted us to have a known, agreed-upon, established budget for this event, given the recent concerns around spending that we've had. So I'm not asking for a budget amendment or new money to be authorized for this. I just want us to have an agreement on how much would be the max spent on the event.
JJ.
Are the moving expenses coming out of the general fund?
Yes, they were budgeted part of this fiscal year 25 budget.
And we don't know the final moving expenses yet. So potentially it could go over the amount we budgeted.
Highly unlikely. Our moving contract came in significantly less than we expected.
Okay.
So I'm not concerned that we're going to go over that budget.
Okay. If I could, I'll just make my comment. I'm going to end up voting no on this because of the $6,000. As we heard in public comment, and we are going to hear over and over and over, we are not in a good financial spot. And even $6,000 makes a difference. $6,000 is the equivalent of a 3% raise for 5 county employees who make $20 an hour. We're in the middle of contract negotiations right now. This does not look good to our employees. In the next month, the sheriff will be coming to us with budget amendments for out-of-county housing. The county clerk will be coming to us with an amendment for nearly over $500,000 for a voter registration system. The sheriff has ideas for a health plan that has to be renegotiated this year. It will have an increase. By the end of March, we potentially could see our general fund lose a third of its value. We have to have guts to say no. It sucks. We will be watched by our employees. We're in contract negotiations right now. I hope that by the end of this year, all of those employees are still employed by the county. I can't guarantee it today. So it starts with this $6,000. There's going to be more of it. I really hate saying that, but it's the truth. Thank you.
Further discussion. Eric.
Given that, thank you, JJ. We've done things with public participation before for things like this. Has the county reached out to some of our more well-to-do county residents to see if they want to help fund some of this? I'm asking now in the meeting if people are interested in participating in the dedication of the Bennett Center and they want to make a financial contribution. I suggest they contact the executive's office post haste, and maybe we can find a way to do this and do it well and not tap into the general fund. I'll still vote yes because I think it's an important enough thing. I know the county employees are watching. But I also believe that the moving budget's not going to be spent the way we thought it was going to be, and there'd be some money there. And then I suggest if there's still money left over, we move the rest of that back to general fund, in fact. But I'd love to hear someone want to make a donation to this event.
Further discussion. Matt.
I'm not sure who the right person to answer this is, but the 6,000 is anticipated to cover what exactly? How do we get to that number?
There's no guarantee that we would spend that much. That was just what was estimated to be left within the moving budget. This was just the formation of a committee to try to plan some sort of celebration of the building, I guess, being dedicated. There's no set anything yet other than we were just trying to set the people who would be working on it.
So this is kind of within the moving budget, this 6,000 is expected to be left over and it wanted to be allocated this way already?
That's what was chosen to allocate as a max. We don't know yet what the plan would be because this is really just the formation of a committee, so.
Ellie?
So is there a way that we could separate out the formation of the committee from the budget piece at this point? Because I like Eric's idea of appealing to the larger community here.
Well, I think it would be advisable to have a sum there for the committee to work with, but it's the decision of the board in terms of whether you want to amend this or not. That's your call as members of the county board. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Ellie's really got a good point there. There's nothing stopping us from establishing a committee with volunteers to figure out what to do for the celebration. But that doesn't require that committee to have a pool of money to draw from. So I would be in favor of having the committee formed, but just without a budget. And then the committee can figure out whether it's through donations or some other effort in order to pay for the celebration. So I'll vote no on this, by the way, unless we separate it out.
Well, it's up to board members to make a resolution to change that. So, JJ, with the resolution change.
So I would like to amend Resolution 2025-31 to strike the paragraph, be it further resolved, the Champaign County Board authorizes the Ad hoc Bennett Administrative Center Dedication Committee to have an event budget of $6,000.
Second by Ed. All right, we have a motion and a second to amend this.
I just have one thing.
Shamali, go ahead.
There's not a D in my last name, just since we're amending it.
That will prevent a change later on, so
Okay,
thank you very
just
much for
FYI.
noting that. Jenny.
It's forever. Speaking as the chair of the Facilities Committee and somebody who was appointed to this committee, I think it's more important that we find some way of honoring late Senator Bennett and celebrating the new space for us. I don't know that we necessarily need to have money involved to do it. Money would be nice, but I think it's most important that we do the work, so I would support this.
Eric.
A friendly amendment to JJ's amendment would be to change that paragraph and have the county board authorize the Ad hoc Bennett Administrative Center Dedication Committee to seek public funds to perhaps pay for a dedication ceremony or other means. Excuse me?
Use the
Private
microphone
funds.
and then he can hear you.
Sorry, private funds.
All right, well, I would friendly the friendly of the friendly of the friendly. So, in any way that those words make more sense than how I just spoke them.
Okay, to your friendly amendment is to amend it to, rather than having a budget event, to seek private funding for the event.
Let's just make this easy for Matt when he's writing it. How about the line say, let me go back to it here. Be it further resolved, the Champaign County Board recommends the Ad hoc Bennett Administrative Center Dedication Committee seek private funding for this event.
Okay, that sounds like a
You okay with that,
changed
Eric?
resolution. So do we want to get, okay, we've got to, I'll just count that as
How
a.
about I remove my initial
All right,
amendment, and this
that's
is
great.
my new amendment?
That's your new amendment, and Eric is the second on that. So we have a motion and a second to amend this resolution. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. We have an amended amendment now. So all in favor of the amended amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. So we've passed this amended resolution. All right. All right, on the summary of action taken by county facilities, January 7th meeting is placed on file, and by ELOC Use Committee, filed and placed on file for the January 9th meeting. Highway and Transportation, summary of action taken January 9th, on file. We do have adoption of Resolution 2025-57, approving award of a contract to Rural Mechanical Services, Inc. for on-site solar PV system services. Jeff has been waiting on this, so he may want to come up to the mic. I'm guessing he will have at least some questions. Can I have a motion to approve this resolution? Got a motion, we have a motion by Mr. Cagle, second by Mr. Esri. Discussion. Anybody have questions for Jeff about his proposed solar at the highway building? Go ahead.
Thank you for doing this, and I wish we were doing this on more of our buildings that we own to save the money long term.
I'm excited about it. I've been wanting to do it for quite a while. I'm glad we finally got it to get rolling.
It makes economic sense. It really does.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Any further? Eric, go ahead.
While we're on fiscal conservatism, where was this money? Where does this money come from? From the highway budget, or?
Yeah, it's we've got a sinking fund that we started putting money into. 10 years ago, we paid off the bond for the building, and we took that money that we were paying towards the bond and we put it into a separate fund, which I refer to as a sinking fund for improvements and maintenance on the building. It's not actually in the budget for 2025, so we're going to have to do a budget amendment to put it in the line item to be able to spend it. But if you look at the proposal that Royal put in, all the money comes back to us within 5 years. So it's just basically laying the money out until we get it back, because there's all kinds of incentives and so forth that bring money back to us.
Yeah, and just to go on the record, I think, as Brett does, that we should do this as much as possible, including at the new Bennett Center, when we have the money.
Yep.
Eric, I had that discussion with our new facilities director yesterday, and the roof, while it does have a membrane cover over it, with the installation procedures they're using now, it's not going to require much at all. And when we do have the financial ability to do so, I think we need to do solar array on the roof of Bennett. You're correct. Anybody else?
Cool.
All right, no further questions. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Jeff, you've got your solar panels.
All right. We're ready to build them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, summary of action taken January 14th at Committee of the Whole, Justice and Social Services, Finance, Policy, Personnel, and Appointments is placed on file. For Justice and Social Services, adoption of Resolution 2025-58 supporting Senate Bill 180 to protect judicial representation in the 6th Judicial Circuit. And we do have the Honorable Judge Beckett sitting here. If we do have any questions on this, I told him I thought this would be a slam dunk, but he wanted to stay for sure. Have a motion. Motion by our board chair, second by Jenny. Questions for the Honorable Judge Beckett? Go ahead.
This seems like a pretty worthwhile endeavor. Would you quickly summarize why we should do this?
Of course. Those of you who know me will remember that I actually ran for office initially as a at-large position back in 2018. We have 5 of those currently through the circuit, and they are all either in Champaign County or in Macon County. There are 3 here in Champaign County, 2 in Macon County. Through efforts by the legislature in 2022, that process for at-large judge positions, where all 6 counties' voters select those 5 judges as they come up for election when there's a vacancy, those are being changed to residential judge positions, which interesting enough, is the kind of judge position I have now, which I ran for in 2022, which is dedicated to Champaign County. The way in which the legislature modified the statute in 2022 was to take 3 of those judicial positions at large and make them residential positions in Champaign County and the other 2 in Macon County to reflect the current position of those 5 judges, 3 in Champaign County, 2 that are sitting in Macon County. The concern has been that an unintended consequence of the way the legislation was written was that it assumed that those positions would be filled in a particular order, with the first 3 being elected in Champaign County and then the final 2 in Macon County. The only way that that works neatly is if the 3 judges who currently are presiding in Champaign County courts are the ones who vacate, hopefully by retiring, and then only after that with the Macon County judges who are currently at large retiring. In practice, we are concerned that that's not going to happen. We feel that the first judge that may retire will in fact be one from Macon County. And if that were to happen, we'd have this very strange situation where the citizens of Champaign County would be electing a judge who almost certainly would need to be relocated to Macon County to serve indefinitely until a vacancy comes up in Champaign County. As everyone knows, we're a little short of space right now in Champaign County Court. Not that we certainly don't appreciate the legislature's efforts to try to simplify the process going forward. We are concerned, and I speak for all the circuit judges in the Sixth Circuit on this point, we are concerned that there be an orderly process by which this transition occurs. And since the intention all along has been there are 3 judges to be elected in Champaign County and 2 elected in Macon County, the way the legislation has been attempting to amend the statute will accomplish that. And it accomplishes it very well without any doubt, because it says specifically the judges who are retiring or vacating their positions will be replaced based on where they resided at the time they were elected. And we know the 3 that are in Champaign County right now lived in Champaign County when they were elected, and the 2 that were in Macon County lived in Macon County when they were elected.
Further questions? Go ahead, JJ.
I don't actually have a question for you, Judge. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Appreciate your explanation.
Of course.
I'm remaining a no vote on this for many reasons. As Judge Rosenbaum said when he was here at Committee of the Whole, no legislator consulted the judiciary here in Champaign County or in Macon County when this legislation was passed in 2022. It was simply a political ploy done by the majority party in Springfield to grab power in the judiciary. They did it not only here in Champaign County, but in several counties across the state. And as we see now with, as Judge Beckett just said, the unintended consequences, it was done hastily at the last minute, and it was purely political. It is not my job as a county board member to fix the failures of the legislature, and so I will be voting no on this.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you much, Chad.
Thank you.
All right, on to new business. Adoption of Resolution 2025-59, authorizing payment of claims. Payment register available on the county's website. Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution? JJ, second by Matt. Any discussion? Seeing none, all please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Adoption of Resolution 2025-60, appointing Ellie Hanauer Friedman as the Deputy Chair of the Finance Committee of the Whole to replace Stephanie Furtado. Wait a second. Something's this deputy chair?
I asked Megan about this, and she said it goes
That's
back
the
to
official,
yeah.
okay, all right. Learn something every meeting, apparently. All right, all in favor? Oh, I need a motion, excuse me. Motion by Jenny Lokshin, second by Carolyn Greer. Any discussion? Go ahead, Matt.
There's a missing Y in the second whereas L. Hanauer Friedman. We need the Y at the end. Unless it's somebody else.
Not getting out of it that easy.
Yeah, I do have a Y at the end of my name.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, I guess. All right, adoption of resolution 2025-61 authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Champaign, the city of Urbana, and Champaign County for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant JAG program. I think this is an annual thing, if I'm remembering correctly. Can I have a motion? Oh, sorry. Motion by Beth, second. Eric. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, adoption of resolution 2025-62 approving budget amendment BUA 2024/12/1171, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 107, Cooperative Extension Services, increased appropriation $602.66, increased revenue 0. Reason final P-tax distribution for extension services was slightly higher than budgeted. Can I have a motion? Motion by Ellie, second by Matt. Is there any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Esri.
Yes.
Farney.
Yes.
Fava.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Greer.
Yes.
Hanauer Friedman.
Yes.
Lokshin.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Sexton. Storr.
Yes.
Sullard.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Benish Thiernot.
Yes.
Wiggs.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Cagle.
Yes.
Crane.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Adoption of resolution number 2025-63 approving budget amendment BUA 2024-12-1162, Fund 1080, General Corporate, Department 22, County Clerk, increased appropriations $1,313, increased revenue 0. Reason to cover outstanding invoices and a slight overrun in personnel costs. Can I have a motion? Motion by Jenny, second by Beth. Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Roll call. Roll call.
Oh, excuse me, this is a roll call. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Esri.
Yes.
Farty.
Yes.
Fava.
Yes.
Furtado.
Yes.
Greer.
Yes.
Hanauer Friedman.
Yes.
Lokshin.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Rogers.
She had to leave.
Sexton. Storr.
Yes.
Sullard.
Yes.
Thorsland.
Yes.
Benish Thiernot.
Yes.
Wiggs.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Cagle.
Yes.
Crane.
Yes.
Locke.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right, next item, Circuit Clerk disbursements for fines and fees. This is discussion only. Ellie, as Finance Chair, do you want to speak to this a little bit?
Not really. So I'm only going to speak briefly and then hand it over to our former chair and our vice chair who have more historical context on this. Unfortunately, Susan is not here this evening, but we felt it was important to put this on the agenda because there's been a lot of concern about a large sum of money in a special revenue fund from the circuit clerk's office that was supposed to be transferred over the course of fiscal year 24. And a big chunk of that was transferred in December. But there's still a portion of it that has not been transferred. And the issue has now been raised as to how this may or may not impact our audit, as well as questions around the use of these funds, whether there's a surplus to these funds and where that surplus will land, et cetera. So I know that one of the sort of general concern on the accounting side of things is just that revenue from one year be booked in that same year as opposed to crossing over to the next fiscal year. And Travis may be able to speak a little bit more in detail to that. But I will ask Stephanie if she has some history that she wants to add to this.
JJ is acting vice chair. Do you want to say anything first? Because I'm nothing now. So the issue is when we allocate a budget, our expectation is that the revenue and expenses will be recorded in the budget that we budgeted in and recorded in the year that the budget is. These are like sort of basic public finance principles. It allows for transparency, it allows for the public, and it also allows us to make informed decisions because then we can look back and try to understand how different funds have performed over time. This was a major issue in 2023, and then it came to our attention that despite copious amounts of conversation, that somewhere between the circuit clerk and the auditor's office, that the transfers that were supposed to happen between several special revenue funds and the general fund didn't happen when the deputy auditor left. And so the problem with that is that in some cases, the special revenue funds performed better than we anticipated. And so now there is apparently a surplus. And what to do with that surplus, so they did what should have been 3 separate quarterly transfers kind of all at once in December. But the rest of the money hasn't been transferred. And to just be blunt, if the money had been transferred all along as it was agreed upon, we would have had a better ability to address the mechanisms by which to address the surplus and to come up with a plan for that. There's been a lot of reasons why it couldn't be done at the end of this year, at this meeting, in part because, they're closing their books and concerns about the timing of the audit. And I understand that there's a lot of pressures on all elected officials and their budgets. And, we've been guaranteed that this is kind of like a one-off situation. But it is important for, I said this in caucus, for any fund, this should concern the board. But particularly for the circuit clerk's office, given the fact that there is a lot of eyes on the criminal justice system, because some of the reason for the ambiguity of these funds is related to the passage of the No Bail Act. And so it's not just our county, but when people are trying to understand what was the impact of that policy, right, on public finance, what it's going to look like is that in 2024, our county underperformed in revenue beyond what it did, right? And so I'm not trying to lay blame, but it is when money needs to be allocated in the year that it is received. And if it isn't, it should be rare and exceptional circumstances that should be communicated to this board well in advance of when we receive this communication. This cannot be how we do finance. And the question is this okay with an audit, which year we record it? That's all well and good. What I'm saying is the oversight of this body is incumbent upon getting accurate information, and that includes recording what happens in the year that it happens. And so I just wanted to have some sort of public conversation about this because, this is this particular office, but this is something, I don't know if we need to beef up our financial policy so that this is clearly articulated, that this is the expectation. My hope would be that that isn't something that we needed to do. But given the this is not the first year that these funds have been at issue. We have spent a considerable amount of time navigating. I personally have spent a considerable amount of time. Our previous state's attorney, Matt Benning, the amount of effort that went into making this work and getting to this point and it's still not working correctly is, it has to be better. And so I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention because I'm just gonna be real, 97% of what we do is budget and then make sure that what we budgeted happens. I mean, that's really what this board does, is finance, right? And we have to be able to have the assurance that when we pass a budget, that the people that are, and if for some reason they can't, if an elected official is like, hey, I've got this surplus, what are we gonna do about it? I need to talk to the board about a plan that has to happen within the fiscal year that it occurred, not some other time, even if it's a month later. So that's all.
Further discussion? JJ?
I mean, Stephanie summed it up extremely well. All I would add to it is that it has felt like every time we've tried to discuss this with the office holders that we are talking about, we've been met with roadblocks. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't make sense. This is an accounting issue. Mm-hmm. And there's always been an excuse as to why it can't get done. So we want the board to be aware that these numbers, they're not what they should be because we have office holders that are not getting these things done in the timely fashion that they need to be done. Clifton Larson Allen has been consulted. So to make sure that we're in compliance with everything, I want to assure you, yes, they're looking at it. State's Attorney's Office, we've had emails even today flying around, so we're still talking and conversing about it, but it's been very frustrating, very frustrating.
Jeff, you had your hand raised. Do you have a comment?
Thank you, Chair. It's actually probably more an understanding on my part. And thank you, Member Stephanie Furtado, for explaining it. What kind of numbers are we talking about? And is this a one-off, and are we anticipating the same thing happening in 2025?
It's about 250,000 is my understanding. And, the emails have said that, they're going to start doing it quarterly and this is a one-off. There are some things, particularly like the last allocation of a particular kind of money that they get doesn't happen to January. But that said, there's no reason we might always have to do that fourth allocation in February, right? And like, so the first one will happen in April, after the first 3 months. And maybe it's not going to be possible to do the last one in January, but we do all sorts of closing the book stuff in February. So it would have been fine if it had come this month. The issue is that it apparent, and the reasons why, there's been multiple reasons stated as to why it couldn't happen, right? So, yeah. But yes, I think the board needs to keep an eye on this, because honestly, it was in the board in conversations with Travis who are like, wait a minute, that I think I called you and I'm like, I see no indication that the transfers are happening. Like, it's 0, and that's a pretty easy number to tell. Like, it's not like hard to judge, is it happening or not? And so like, we were the ones who saw that the transfers weren't happening, and we just need to keep an eye on it and make sure that they do start happening so that next February we're not in the same position.
Ellie?
Yeah, just to add to that, so it was about 500,000 that was transferred in December, but that should have been done quarterly throughout the previous year. And now we have an additional 250 or so that the Finance Committee and Budget Director requested to be put on this meeting agenda, but the Circuit Clerk's Office wanted to wait till March, which will push it to the next fiscal year.
Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. So one more question. What is, or is there an auditor role in this picture? Is it outside the purview of the auditor, or it should have been something caught by our independent auditor?
Travis, do you want to respond to that?
So originally, it was going to be done by the auditor's office, and the deputy auditor at the time left. So after that, there was some confusion, I guess, probably of which office was going to do it, and who was keeping an eye out for it. So originally, yes, but with all that confusion, there was some issues there.
One more comment. So what I just heard, maybe I'm wrong, please adjust me if I am. This was within the purview of the auditor's office, irregardless of the staffing. Because I think to remember someone somewhere at one time said, I would roll up my sleeves to do all this work. So I guess my question is, not to be too pithy, maybe there was not enough sleeves to roll up, or, so I guess my question is, what confidence do we have that the auditor would keep auditing within this framework, or does that go to another organization?
Michelle, go ahead if you'd like to respond. You or Travis?
I'll just be blunt and add, the auditor himself has been an obstacle to getting this done. He has been very argumentative and disbelieving that it needs to be done, that it should be done at all. And, he has been an equal part of the problem in this scenario, which is probably the more concerning issue of everything in this situation. So,
Stephanie?
Let me be real clear. If we pass a budget and say, and have an agreement that like, this is the rate at which money from these two funds is going to be allocated, it is not outrageous for us to expect that that is what is going to happen, especially if that agreement is reached after months of conversation across multiple offices that's cost hundreds of hours of staff time. So this is not outrageous. And I also would say there has never been a time with any elected official that if they're like, hey, listen, this fund performed slightly better. Can we have a conversation about how we approach that, right? But it's a conversation with this board. It is not something that can just be unilaterally decided by throwing up all sorts of obstacles in order to transfer money. That is not how this is going to work. Period. We are going to pass a budget, and the budget and the policies around it are going to be adhered to. And if not, we're going to continue to have this kind of conversation. Because now that I'm not finance chair, I don't got to pay attention to everything, so I can just keep an eye on this.
I would add that that conversation needs to take place in the fiscal year in which the transitions, in which the moves need to be made within the budget. Yeah. Go ahead, Ellie. Sorry, or Beth. Sorry.
Is it statutorily required for these departments to have to be the ones who initiate a fund transfer? Can this not be automated?
Let Travis take a stab at this. I think he's the logical person to answer that question. No, that's on you, Travis. Sorry.
So a lot of it could be initiated elsewhere. The BUA, for example, the actual inter-fund transfers could be done elsewhere, but some of the bank transfers and in-house invoices from fund to fund would need to be ran through either the department or the auditor's office. But some of the initial stuff could be ran elsewhere.
Ed.
Can we take his staff and put them under you so that this gets monitored at some point in time and just eliminate all of this?
That would be a decision the board would have to make at some point in time. Jenny.
I'm sorry, I may not, just may not be understanding this, but, and I don't know who this would be a question to, but what is the purpose of not making the I guess what is the purpose? Why? Why are they not making
Stephanie is pursing her lips as she's raising her hand, which is an interesting contrast, but Stephanie, go ahead.
Because the general fund is the general fund, and a surplus that is lives in a special revenue fund controlled by a particular office, if the money's there, it falls into that fund balance. So then that money is forever in that fund balance. Well, I mean, not forever, but you know what I'm saying? So that's that's to be blunt. Why? Because, and this is not like a circuit clerk thing. Every elected official wants to keep as much money in their special revenue funds as they can, right? I mean, this is a conversation I've had with every elected official. They'd like to keep every nickel, right, in those special revenue funds. But we as a board look at all of our financial needs and what is allowable within the statutes, and then we try to put the money and the expenses where we think is most appropriate.
Do a quick follow-up. So
Go ahead, Jenny.
would a special revenue fund, is that considered money that they do not need board authorization to spend?
Oh, no, it still has to be appropriated, but it has, the parameters of it are much different than a general fund.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, and in this specific situation, within the year-long negotiation of fixing this problem, part of the resolution was that the general fund absorbed many expenses from the circuit clerk's office with the expectation that this transfer would help offset those expenses. Whereas right now, without doing the transfers, the general fund is just paying for the expenses and not receiving any of the revenue for it. That is the very time-sensitive issue that we have.
Matt?
Are we expecting this to get resolved next month's meeting?
Yes, but then it will be on fiscal year 2025 instead of fiscal year 2024, where it would have been most appropriate.
So to the extent that there's anything we can get rolling, I'd like to ask the executive's office and budget to get rolling on it. And to the extent that we can get any resolutions, BUAs, whatever we need to approve going, let's go get the money instead of waiting on them to give it to us to the extent we can.
Beth?
I'll yield to Travis.
Just to follow up on that a little bit, the timing of both the BUA and the interfund transfers that we could do need to kind of tie to the timing of the transfers from the bank accounts and everything else. So it would not probably be the cleanest to do part of it in 24 and the other part in 25.
Beth?
So what is the drop dead date to get this into fiscal year 2024?
This meeting, right?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I could talk. The auditor's office is closing 2024 in February, and the final deadlines to enter invoices and everything else for 24 have passed. There are exceptions are made, and they will still be doing transfers and items on the books through March and April for 2024, but the deadlines have passed without exceptions.
Stephanie?
I would be remiss if I didn't thank Travis. Travis has tried to handle the situation with, I think, a lot of very reasonable outreach and effort, and it just has not. I mean, this is not like the goal is to have this kind of stuff at a meeting, right? And he's tried to just get it resolved. And unfortunately, as JJ said, it just kept moving why it couldn't be resolved. And so, but we just felt very strongly that the board, me, Ellie and JJ felt very strongly that the whole board, it might kind of read as like weirdo insider baseball, but this is actually like really core to our kind of oversight. But thank you, Travis, you tried really hard.
Jenny?
And I just wanted to confirm what I heard in caucus is that this is already being set up as a reason that the 2025 audit will be delayed.
Go ahead.
The insider baseball part. Answering that, I'm the one who was reading Susan's emails for what would happen if we would do the transfer now and track it back to 2024. That could, the delay in processing it could push things out to March, and then that would potentially delay the audit. So for that reason, that was the circuit clerk's reasoning why this should all go on to financial year 25. And I'm throwing up my hands here and just like accepting incompetence in telling us they were going to do it and it not happening. But like, we're stuck for this at this point if we want to have the audit on time. But moving forward, we can do everything we can to require that they do these quarterly so we won't find ourselves in this position
I'm sorry,
next year.
just to clarify, because what I asked, I thought 2025, you mean this would be for the 2024 audit that would delay it further, or? No.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, so if we would have had a budget amendment tonight to force things through, it wouldn't, the process or the payments and everything wouldn't be fully made until like about a month, according to Susan's email. Whether that's accurate or not, I'm just, what she relayed to me. It wouldn't go through, and there'd be a delay, and then that could potentially delay the early phases. And I see Ms. Furtado shaking her head adamantly. I merely was, at caucus, I was merely relaying what was communicated, without knowing the veracity of that.
Just remember this when we're struggling to get the 2025 audit on time. Yeah.
Beth?
I don't care how long he's going to have to roll up his sleeves and work overtime to get the audit done on time. I think it's possible to both get the audit done on time for 2024 and to get this money in the budget for 2024. And I would like to propose something statutorily that shows the parties in question that the board is serious about both of these things happening.
Stephanie?
Yeah. The idea that closing the books with all of the 2024 revenue in the 2024 budget will somehow cause a delay in the 2024 audit is not a premise that we should accept. That's just, it's an unacceptable premise.
Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. And then I want to follow up with board member Matt's comment. I didn't get closure on his question. And I'm looking at my calendar here. I think there's 6 more business days left in the month. So I am not really understanding how this cannot be accomplished in 6 business days. I don't know the intricacies of bank transfers and stuff. I suppose there's some effort, but if there was a concerted effort to just resolve this one particular issue and there's 6 business days left in the month, can that not be done?
Stephanie?
My understanding, although perhaps I am wrong, is that there would have needed to be a budget amendment associated with this process.
Yeah, I don't think that it's the 6 days that's the issue. I think it's actually the Robert's Rules concept of we don't have an amendment in front of you for you to vote on right now. That does not exist. And
Can we make a motion to suspend the rules in order to get this budget amendment out tonight?
There would also need to be open meetings. The public has not been notified of any budget amendment.
Let me be clear, that's because the revenue exceeded what was in the budget, right? So like, in order to address that fact, then we'd have to have a budget amendment, and we don't. So, and like, it wasn't noticed, so, yeah. It wasn't noticed as a voting item.
Jeff?
All right, so one more comment then. What precludes us from having a special meeting on the calendar to meet whatever the 3 days notice or 48-hour notice for a meeting so that it meets all the guidelines of a public meeting, Opens Meeting Act, have a special meeting? I know it's inconvenient. There's no doubt about that. I probably won't. My calendar's full, but nevertheless, how many members do we need for the special meeting? You only need half plus one? And you could have a special meeting with this particular BUA and then get it done. Maybe I'm being too prescriptive here.
Nope, that would be a possibility.
Then I will propose that we
Wait a second.
organize a special meeting within 48 hours to.
Vice Chair Rodriguez.
Thank you. Do we not have a study session scheduled for next week? I mean, we have something in the calendar that we pencil in. Yes, a standing one that we could still call. This isn't some people's calendars. It's something that I hold open. We don't need to do something special.
It's such a short month, so it's not for February. Oh, there's not one in February. Yeah, it's just because it's a short month.
Okay.
But normally you are right, yes.
Ellie?
Procedural question, though, doesn't the budget amendment need to initiate from the circuit clerk? That's
No.
why,
No.
It doesn't. Because I thought that's why we didn't have one in front of us tonight.
Technically, no. But it would need very clear direction from the board that you are telling the executive's office to initiate a budget amendment outside of the scope of an elected official.
Eric?
Thank you. I've been up since 2. I'm quite tired and hungry. Just to kind of put a bow on everything, I'm not making a proposal, but I think this is what we could do. We can have a meeting on Tuesday. We should, in all the power that the executive office and the board has, make this budget amendment, get written up, get this done, get it on this year. And to be blunt, the audit next year is going to be late. And we're all kidding ourselves that we think it's not going to be late. And Mr. Sleeve Roller is not going to get it done on time. And it doesn't matter how much prodding we're going to do, it's still not going to be done on time. So let's stop worrying about that being done, and let's get at least what is going to be late to be accurate in whatever we need to do that. So somebody please form my exhausted brain's words into a nice little thing so that we can do something next week with proper Robert's rules and get this done.
Is that the direction of the board? Wait a second, Travis, go ahead.
I do want to make a little clarification. The circuit clerk does have a different audit somewhat than the main county audit. GIS and the circuit clerk each have their own audits versus the county audit. So it is on a little bit of a different time frame. So I just want to clarify that.
Michelle?
I just want to also just kind of slight tangent speak to the lateness of the 24 audit. So CJ has been working very hard. We have hired a temporary person who is catching up on the monthly reconciliations. She's made significant progress, which is an important part of the audit. You can't really get started without the monthly reconciliations. We think that that will be done probably by May, which will be an amazing accomplishment. That will be all of the 2024, every single month, every single fund reconciliation. So if we choose to have a professional do the audit, an external professional do the audit, there is a very good chance that we can have an audit that is done in the appropriate deadline for this coming year. So all hope is not lost, but there are the decisions that the board needs to make about who is going to do that audit.
Back to board direction on a special meeting. You want to do a motion? Do I want to have a...
Do official motion.
Do a motion. Okay, who would like to put together the motion? JJ? Oh, that's right. Excuse me. That's right.
Sorry, it's not on the agenda, so we can't do that, but I'm looking at our rules, which is handily here in our packet. And it says it can be done by written request of 1/3 of the membership. So if I could get a piece of paper, I'd be glad to write something out. Or is a little sheet of paper like this okay? You have a
Doesn't
big
matter the
sheet?
size of the paper.
Thank you.
It's legal size, so it's official.
It's yellow.
Just a reminder for scheduling purposes, there is a election on Tuesday. I know a lot of us are not involved in that one because it's Urbana Consolidated Primary, but that may affect building availability.
Matt?
The
Do you have a
county
backup?
executive's office will clerk it, so. No, Matt, be here and then go to ESB. Hey, JJ, maybe the meeting could be earlier too, like at 6 instead of 6:30.
Is there general consensus about what time? And then what'll happen, I'll write this out and then I'll pass it around because it needs signatures, so we don't have to wait or anything. I'll just pass it around, but what time, I mean, is 6 or earlier than that even?
6 sounds good.
6?
Yeah.
Okay. That's,
Are we talking about the 25th?
25th is an election day, just a reminder.
Okay.
Okay. There is another, is there a space?
Let's give me an advertisement.
Yeah, there only needs to be 11 of them.
I just want to make sure there's space available in the building for the 25th.
Can we show our hands up? How about you close the deal?
You don't use this room? Perfect.
Go ahead.
Well, JJ's writing that up. Michelle, I have just a clarifying question. You said if we choose to have an outside auditor, or an outside audit, I think, were you talking about if we choose to have an outside entity perform or produce the ACFR this year? Is that specifically what you were talking
Yes.
about? Okay, thank you.
There are more pieces of the audit process we could turn over to the third-party auditor.
And then would the internal audit office not need as much staff?
The internal office doesn't use its staff to do audits right now. They use their staff to do accounts payable. So you know, in theory, the only people who were really working on the audit were the auditor and the chief deputy. Especially now that the reconciliations are being done, not in the auditor's office either.
Earlier is fine.
5:30?
It should be a quick meeting, I would hope.
Okay, 5:30.
Let's do it.
Mr. Farney, for anybody watching at home, could you just read into the microphone what it is that you wrote? Or announce.
Sure, no, I can read, I can tell you exactly what it says. It says that I, as board member from District 3, am requesting a special meeting of the Champaign County Board on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, at 5:30 p.m. for the purpose of considering budget amendments for the Circuit Clerk's Office in fiscal year 2024.
Comment, please. So, John, I'm going to change this to 24 instead of 25 on your memo. And then is it amendments plural or amendment singular?
Just say to amend.
Keep using the microphone for this, just so if anybody's listening at home, they can pay attention.
Thank you. I made a change. John Farney, County Board Member District 3, request a special meeting of the Champaign County Board Tuesday, February 25, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. for the purpose of considering budget amendments, plural with the parentheses around the S, because it's going to be one or more, from the Circuit Clerk's Office in fiscal year 2024.
Just pointing out, 10C does say time and place. Do we need to put Brookins on there?
Yeah, but just put Brookins. I don't know for sure that we'll be in here. We'll be somewhere, but in Brookins, but I don't know which room.
Adoption of Resolution 2025-62 that supersedes Resolution 2024-209 on establishment of organization, duties, rules, policies, and procedures of the Champaign County Board. Can I have a motion? Okay, we have a motion by Cagle, second by Farney. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Your grant coordinator update is included in your packet. Information only. Decennial committee reports for the county board are available on the county's website for joint Mahomet Township and Mahomet Township Road District, joint Colfax Township and Colfax Township Road Districts. And we have approval of closed session minutes. This sheet has circulated around the room. Everyone has checked off. Motion in favor of approval of the minutes by Jenny, second by Eric. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you much.